There is backlash in Bristol over a new high school principal. There has been a board meeting, a petition, even a video made by parents in support of the man they want to lead their children.
And tonight, your reporter Dylan Fearon is live at Bristol Central with much more on the controversy. Dylan.
Well, Mark, Stephanie, good evening. The principal here at Bristol Central is retiring after 16 years at the school. It seemed the vice principal would be next man up, but it turns out he's not the superintendent's pick, and now parents and alumni are fighting back.
Unfortunately, it's really disappointing.
Matthew Biden graduated Bristol Central 3 years ago. He's working on becoming a teacher. One of the faculty he looks up to the most, Vice Principal Ryan Broderick.
He's such a stunning candidate for any district to have, and Bristol is lucky that he's given 20 years to Bristol Tar District, and it's unfortunate they don't seem to want to let him have any more.
Dozens packed a contentious school board meeting last week. Parents and alumni protesting what they believe is an unfair decision to hire outside the district for its Bristol Central principal opening. A petition on change.org has more than 1,900 signatures, with folks passionately pushing for Broderick.
When someone's been there 20 years and does everything right, seemingly, that doesn't get it anyway, it brings up a lot of questions. It brings up questions about, internal promotion, about what you value in a district, about how we're treating workers and how we're valuing the community and their feedback.
The district hasn't made it official who it's hiring, and the Board of Education hasn't voted to confirm the superintendent's recommendation. But after the recent backlash, Superintendent Iris White sent a letter to parents and staff. She writes, "We recognize that many of you are disappointed that Ryan Broderick is not the candidate being recommended. Your feelings are valid, and we do not take your concerns lightly," adding, "The superintendent's selection reflects careful deliberation." Part of the Bristol Central community even created a video pushing for Broderick to be the next principal.
Dr. Ryan Broderick has spent his career here, not passing through, not building a resume, but building a school.
As the community gives more and more feedback, their minds can be changed.
Yeah, parents and alumni still holding out some sort of hope. Mark and Stephanie, we have reached out to Ryan Broderick and the school board chair tonight, but have not heard back. I'm your reporter live in Bristol tonight, Dylan Fearon, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.